Hello everyone and welcome back to the SteemTrail Gaming News. Today is the 23rd January 2018. My name is Kralizec and I will be your host for this evening. Today we got actually 4 stories to talk about. That's quite a lot compared to the rest of the days. So first, we will talk about Nvidia and the fact they want to sell more graphic cards to gamers as opposed to miners of cryptocurrency. Secondly, we will talk about some Overwatch hackers who are now facing jail time in South Korea. Third, we will talk about a study that shows or says that gaming violence does not affect real-life violence. And last of all, we will talk about the potentiality of John Cena appearing in a Duke Nukem movie. But let's begin with Nvidia and their graphics card sales. As plenty of people here will know, as this is a largely cryptocurrency based blogging platform where a lot of people will use cryptocurrencies, a lot of people probably mine cryptocurrencies, and most of the people here will have at least some knowledge about them. And as we all know here, cryptocurrency are primarily mined with graphics cards these days. Unless you're using a specialized ASIC miner, then your pretty much only profitable option is the graphics cards. This has sort of resulted in a very weird situation with the graphics card market, as the production is limited by the number of chips that can be made by the factories, which are pretty much going at 100% these days. And the crypto craze being high as it is, everybody's trying to mine. The graphics card just aren't in stock if you go over, let's say, a 1050, maybe a 1060 from Nvidia, and an RS Vega 56 and 64 are pretty much completely unavailable. The same can be said for a 570 and 580 from AMD. It is very hard to get even a mainstream level graphics card currently unless you buy a fully pre-built computer. And if you want to buy a graphics card for gaming, not for mining, this is a huge issue, as sometimes you will be able to find deals that offer like 6 graphics card bundle for just $2,000. But that's not really one you want to buy as a gamer. You want 1, maybe 2 graphics card if you're going for SLI or Crossfire, though that's probably not the case these days. Single graphics cards do provide plenty of power. What is the solution to this? And Nvidia has came up with a potential solution for this by asking their retailers to limit the number of graphics cards each person can buy. Right now they're asking for a maximum of 2 graphics cards per person, which seems pretty sensible, as that's the pretty much largest number of graphics cards you can buy to run at SLI, unless you're crazy and you're buying like 4 1080s to run, I don't know, 8K monitors. Who does that? Seriously, like maybe Linus from Linus Tech Tips, but that's not really the case, and he's getting his graphics cards directly from Nvidia either way. The problem with this is they cannot enforce this. They can only ask their retailers to do this, and some may actually try to do this. I actually managed to see that some very high-end graphics cards are limited to this number already, and Nvidia has been limiting people like this for a pretty long time on their own website. By the way, Nvidia's website is probably your best bet to actually buy some graphics cards that are decent right now, even though right now they aren't in stock even there. Otherwise, your only other option is going to the used market, and I know a lot of people don't really mind doing that, but I personally would not recommend that, especially in this sort of market where a lot of these cards have been run 24/7 for maybe a few months, and you don't really know what that will do to the chips. Though a lot of people say it should be safe, as usually these graphics cards go slightly underclocked and they go undervoltaged, so they shouldn't be damaged in any way. Maybe you will need to remove and replace the fan, as those aren't really made to run 24/7 at high speeds as they will probably do in these graphics cards. But who really knows? I wouldn't like risk it unless you can get a graphics card that still has some warranty attached to it. But unless Nvidia can find a way to sort of enforce these things, I'm going to assume it will still be very, very hard to find graphics cards that are better than, you know, upper low end, which is the 1050 Ti. Those you can pretty much find. But it will be very hard to find anything above this consistently. You can sometimes get lucky and find a shop that has 1 or 2 graphics cards in stock, but usually you will have to wait in a waiting list. And if you just wanted to start gaming tomorrow, that will just not be the case right now. By the way, the prices of graphics cards are also ridiculous right now. I could take my graphics card I bought a year ago, put it into a box, and sell it used for a profit compared to what I bought it a year ago. That is just completely ridiculous, and obviously the market state should never be like this. And the thing is, it is pretty unlikely to change at this point, as building another chip manufacturing factory, which would be the only real thing that would help the market. First of all, it's not a thing that can be done quickly. It's not a thing that can be done in months. It's probably something like, oh, this will take us at least a year. And a lot of companies will be like, oh, should we really do that? Will the crypto mining craze last for that long? On top of that, it is very expensive to build a factory like this, costing in the billions of dollars. That's another factor contributing to, you know, people who make chips actually not wanting to build more factories, as they just don't know whether their investment would be profitable in the end. Okay, let's move on to the second piece of news for today, which is about Overwatch hackers in South Korea who might go into prison. So Blizzard Entertainment, or Activision Blizzard, whatever you want to call them, they have been pretty forceful when it comes to hackers and their very, very successful game Overwatch, as they have banned thousands of them already and just generally tried to not having them in their games. Right now, what they actually did is they tried to go, no, they didn't try, they actually went to the police in South Korea, worked with them, and managed to get 13 Overwatch hackers arrested in South Korea. This has happened over a request to the Seoul National Police Agency Cybersecurity Department regarding some illegal program developers, as this has included not only hacking but also some match fixing. Obviously, you can all see why Blizzard has done this, as having hackers in your games, especially with their launch of the Overwatch League or even match fixers, is a pretty big problem that you need to get rid of if you want to be seen as a serious competitor on the esports market. And I'm just going to assume this is going to be happening more and more. Right now, these 13 people are facing up to 5 years in prison and up to 43,000 worth of fines. These punishments are rather hard in my opinion, especially the 5 years in prison, though I would assume the real sentences would be lower. And $43,000 worth of punishment, when split between 13 people, it might not be as bad as many people assume, as the Overwatch hacking software market is very lucrative. Like, you can make few dozens of thousands of dollars just making good wall hacks and aim hacks and whatever you want, if you're good at that and you don't get caught. Okay, let's move on to our third piece of news, which is about a study that has concluded that no evidence is to be seen of violent games causing actual real-world violence. And I think most gamers would have just told you this straight off the bat, like, no, I play games and I don't feel like I should blow somebody's app after this. But obviously, you know, these are the social sciences, so they have to prove everything. So they did, and they came out with, they actually had a specifically made, very realistic first-person shooter game made for them. and they tested people who are actual gamers, whether they will be more violent afterwards. They used, what was it, some word association puzzles, and the researchers concluded that there was actually no evidence of gaming violence causing real world violence. Actually, what they found is that the more realistic, the less likely you are to be violent in the real world, as they not only used the realistic simulator, they also used the one that looked more drawn or animated. And the people who used that were actually more prone to violent associations. And again, I think this could have been told by any sort of gamer within 5 minutes, just like, no, I really don't feel like that. And you know what? I will actually use this study as sort of a non-direct evidence of the fact that when you have a, let's call it, sexist game, that it doesn't cause sexism in a person either. Because why would it cause one thing and not the other? I really wish there would be some studies done on that so we could shut up the SJWs that are claiming we need more women in games, we need more minority games to represent. You know what? If you want those games, make them. If people want them, they will buy them. But don't try to forcibly shove your ideology into gaming, as gaming should just not be political unless you're specifically trying to make a political statement with your game. But don't try to shove it in casual games. Don't try to shove it into games that have nothing to do with politics, as that is just jerkish behavior and I wish it wouldn't happen. Okay, and our last piece of news for today is about John Cena and a possible Duke Nukem movie that could happen sometime in the future. So Duke Nukem, he's one of the most famous video game characters that you can just find, you know, with his manliness and catchphrases and everything. He's just sort of a legend. And John Cena, a famous wrestler who has sort of become an internet meme for being invisible throughout the years, he's now in the talks of starring as Duke Nukem in a movie that could be based around this game. Right now we don't have much other information. We don't have any sort of information that there is a script. They don't have a director. Pretty much this is like super early stages for considering of making a movie. Though I sort of assume a Duke Nukem movie would be very easy to make, as it would just be your extremely mainstream summer action blockbuster that I assume many gamers would just love to go in and see. I would certainly be one of them, and even though I would assume the movie would be dumb as hell, as the story wouldn't really matter, just would be about cool catchphrases and some really nice looking explosions, maybe a few hot babes mixed in the matchup, then I would have fun with it. That's all I want from a Duke Nukem movie, and I'm really hoping that it could be done well. I hope they don't try to force any sort of political narrative into it. I hope they just don't try to make it into a sensible story. Just, you know, make it a cool, really easy, follow through the books with all the cliches action movie that will look really cool, and all Duke Nukem fans will be happy. And with that being said, that's going to be it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please consider giving us a thumbs up here on YouTube and subscribing to our channel. If you're watching this on Steam, maybe you want to give us an upvote and follow our blog. Either way, you should leave a comment, as we are always interested in your opinions. And be sure to tune in tomorrow to get more daily gaming news from us, as we are your source of daily gaming news every single day. See you guys later with more gaming content.